Okay, we are going to talk about this vowel valley. That's what some people call it. So you have a copy of this. You also have, making sure this is working. You also have another copy of this vowel valley, but it's not colored. So you should either both, or you should have one or the other, but it doesn't matter because they're both set up the same way. Okay. So we're going to review real quickly beginning and ending consonants. So if I said him, the beginning consonant sound would be the, and the final sound would be rouge, rouge. Beginning sound is final sound is zh, it's that ZH sound. Whole, beginning sound is final sound is ul. There, beginning sound is voiced th. Final sound is or r. Seeth, beginning sound is s. Final sound is voiced so it's seeth. Young, beginning sound is yeah. Final sound is ng. Rhyme, beginning sound is final sound is Phone, beginning sound is f. Final sound is n. Gnat, beginning sound is n. Final sound is t. Psychic, beginning sound is s. Final sound is k. League, beginning sound is o. Final sound is g. Wage, beginning sound is w. Final sound is j. South, beginning sound is s. Final sound is th. And the th is unvoiced. Okay, so there they are for you. Probably should have done that for you. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is what the vowel valley looks like when you have it all completely filled out. There is another vowel valley that has a Y and a U right here for you. And you have a copy of that. Or if I didn't give you a copy and you want a copy, by all means, let me know. You can definitely have one. But this is just because it's a foundation piece. I'm just keeping it to the basics here. Okay. Okay, what's a vowel? I'm not going to read all these to you. If you see this line that's over the U, we call that a macron. And then if you see this little part right here, that's a breve. Macron tells us that it's a long sound like U. The breve tells us a short sound like I. So they call it vowel circle, vowel valley, just depends. Vowels are harder to learn. A lot of kids, second, third grade, they're still learning the vowel sounds because they may have been saying them incorrectly. It is very difficult for kids to distinguish them because when we go through this vowel valley, you'll see that just a teeny bit of your mouth, tongue, it'll change just a little bit. And with that just teeny difference, you can completely change the vowel sound, which then changes the grapheme or the symbol that it represents. So let's move on. So we're going to go down, we're going to follow the vowels from, there's 3 major starting points. There's a long E sound because your mouth is completely smiling at this time. So before we go into depth in all this, you need to make sure you have a mirror and that you are looking at your mouth every single time you're making these sounds. I cannot stress that enough to you, because if you are not looking at your mouth and seeing how it changes, how are you going to be able to look at a child's mouth and see what they're doing incorrectly so you can help them fix it? So you really need to be looking at a mirror. So the vowels, they're going to be arranged according to their proximity to one another in articulation. So as you can see, I already said we're going to start with E because that's where we smile. And when you articulate the long E sound, you can feel the location of your tongue, and your smile and your tongue are near the very top of your mouth. You actually have the biggest smile you can make when articulating an E. Now say ah for short O and look in the mirror and notice how your mouth is shaped. Your mouth is open, and this group of vowels are the vowels that make your mouth open. Okay, and then you have the long U sound. Now notice how your mouth is shaped again when you're looking in the mirror. Your mouth is round. This group of this group of sounds are the vowels that make your mouth round. The anchor vowels then again are E, long E, short O, ah, and long U, U. We call those our major anchor vowels because they will show the significant changes in your mouth. As we go through, you can see they're even color-coded. As we're going down, when you have your mirror in front of your face and looking at your mouth, you'll see that they'll be changing from a smile down to your mouth being open, but it's slight changes. And so the most significant changes you can see are going from an E to a short O to a long U. And so that's the whole reason why they talk about how those are your anchor vowels, because they show this most significant difference in your mouth shape. Okay, so the other thing I want to tell you real quickly is that, we're going to be going, we're going to be following how your mouth changes slightly, okay? When you are teaching vowels, you would never, ever teach them in this order, the way that I'm going to be showing you, okay? You would teach, instead of, we're showing you this so you can see how slight your mouth can change to produce a different sound. If you were to teach these vowels, you would want to teach vowel sounds that are significantly different from one another. So for example, like I could teach a long E and I can teach a U. That would be good because they're completely made different. My mouth looks very different when I make these two sounds. If I want to, use a short O and then a long U, that's perfectly fine because they're very, very different. But you're going to find out, I would never, ever, ever teach a long E and a short I together. Because if you go E, if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and then you go I, E, I, you can barely see that change in your jaw, E, I. So just know that, because it could easily be a question I might ask, and you don't teach things or letters or sounds that look alike or sound the same. You want to always teach letters and sounds from biggest difference that they can see. So you would never, ever teach B and D together. But you could teach the letter B and Z because they look very different. Okay, so let's see. So you say I, and if you look in the mirror, you're going to notice that your mouth, how your mouth is shaped, and you're still smiling, but your jaw is just a little bit lower than that E sound. Okay. So if you say I and then look in the mirror, you've noticed that your jaw's dropped a little bit, but now if you say A and you look in the mirror, you're still smiling because these are all, you're still smiling here. They're all in yellow, but it's lower than the short I sound, okay? So you wanna make sure that your I, A, they're all, you do not teach these together. Okay, so now we're going to look at the short E sound. If you look in the mirror, you're still smiling, but it's lower than the A sound. So again, we're still smiling. It's still kind of like an E. I mean, it's still kind of like yellow in this area. But we're still smiling, but our jaw is dropping even more. So A, If you go E, you can E, you can tell a difference, but going from A, that's a very small difference. So you would need to make sure that the sounds I and A, and then A and and then and A, they need to be separated. You don't teach those together. If you say A, look in the mirror and you notice your mouth is, if you would notice how your mouth is shaped, you are smiling still. See, it's a little orange yellowish, so it's still in the smiling area. But of course, it's going to be a little bit lower than the sound. And make sure that you're saying these sounds with me, because if you don't, and if you're making them incorrectly, then at least, and if you're not seeing this in your mouth changed just a little bit, then you need to come and talk to me, and I can show you some videos and things that you can look at to make sure that you're making these sounds correctly. Because if you make the sounds incorrectly, then your kids are going to make the sounds incorrectly, and then they're going to link them to a grapheme, the incorrect grapheme or the symbol that represents that sound incorrectly, and then they're going to have then that's going to be spelling. You're going to have spelling errors all over the place. Discuss them. And so what you're going to need to do is if you say okay, like I said before, it's lower than the So but here's what you need to do: make sure that the sounds like short I and short A, long A and short E, short E and short A, need to be separated in your scope and sequence. Okay. So now we're going from, if you go say E to I, you can pretty much tell your mouth is different. I mean, you can actually see that your jaw drop more significantly. So notice how your mouth is shaped. You're you're still smiling. Again, see, it's still yellow. You're still smiling, but not even not as much as, definitely not as much as you had the E, the long E sound. If you were to now say you're going to see a more significant drop from your jaw. Okay, so you need to make sure that sounds like short I and short A, long A and short E, short E, and short A, they need to be separated in their scope and sequence when you introduce them. So if you said ah, like an octopus, you can see that your mouth is open. And then the group of vowels, these group of vowels, oops, right here, you can start seeing that now we have definitely moved to where your mouth is open, much different than a E as smiling, okay? So as we go up, you're gonna start seeing us go from an open mouth to more of a rounded mouth, okay? So we are going to add some open sounds right in here. So if you say ah, your mouth is still open, but of course, here we go again. Ah, ah. I can feel my jaw coming up. Okay, we have ah. It can be AW or AU. You can notice that your mouth, is open. It's actually your mouth is is as open as it's going to get, and it's rounded. It's ah. Kind of feel like my is more towards the back of my throat, but it might be me. Your next sound is going to be long O. So your mouth is rounded again. And if you go from ah to O, oh, I mean, you can feel a pretty significant change there. Oh, oh, oh. Even going from oh, you can feel, I can even feel it, much less see it. As we move up to this rounded mouth. Okay, so if we keep on going, we are going to hit So if you were to look at, if you're going to say the word look, so you're going oh, So your mouth, if you can see that with your mirror, it's definitely starting to become more rounded, more puckered. And then we have ooh, like in zoo. Your mouth is going to be now more rounded at the lips. Ooh. And if you go ooh, you, ooh, you, ooh, you, it's pretty much the same. Ooh, you, ooh. I'm trying to say a long U sound. Let's see. You, cute, Q, you, ooh, you, ooh, you. If you look in the mirror, your mouth is again with a long U. It's very rounded. And then the only other sound that is above the U is, so you have U and then you have you, where you kind of go from the Y to a U sound, U. And some phonics programs, they have that U sound right here, and then others just keep it with the U. So it's probably going to depend a lot on what phonics program that you're using. Okay, so you have terrible R, bossy R. A lot of people call this different things. Vowel R. R's are pretty difficult. I'm sure you know quite a few people that have had speech therapy because of the R sound. It also causes problems with spelling because you can see you can have sound can be represented with an IR, burn, you are, word, or, inward, ar. It can be very, and then you have r, car, and then har, r. You have the ear. Or you have or, which is pretty, that's, most kids can get that. Shore, or, this is ore, court, or our, and then course, or oar. And they have, and all of these have the or sound, but they're spelled different. So just so you know, the graphemes, or the symbols that represent the the r, and the or, if you have ir, that's one grapheme for that sound of If you have like shore, or, that ore, that's one grapheme for the sound of or. So anyway, it is one speech sound, but it can have, two letters, or three letters, but it's usually represented by one grapheme, okay? Because that's, you have to think of a grapheme as the way that you spell that sound, okay? So our R-controlled vowels are right here. We say that the R's are combinations. That's what my program calls them, because they make an unexpected sound. The ER, because that takes over your vowel sound. So if you go from E to you can see a pretty significant change. Is not as much. So when you teach these, unfortunately, AR and OR, the kids have to have practice with them for a long time, because there's really not a spelling pattern to use. What we do in the phonics program that I was taught is we say to them, okay, if they were going to write the word girl, okay, I would say to them, okay, write the word girl, and if let's just say they wrote it GERL, I would tell them, okay, is there another way that we could write the word girl? What's another way that we could represent What's another bossy R way of representing the sound? And that's just something that they're going to have to learn, that the sound can be represented with IR, ER, UR, and OR. And then what I say to them is write it all those ways. Write girl with ER, write girl with IR, write girl with AR, write girl with OR. And then I would say to them which one looks correctly, or which one looks like the word you would see in a book. Because I try to just link it to reading their book. And usually if I say that and we've practiced that enough, they think, and they get it. They can start recognizing visually the difference between the way it should look, the way the word should look. Okay. Oh, sorry, that's too quick. Okay, so the other sounds that we're going to look at, this is a diphthong, and we call our diphthongs glides. And it's basically one vowel kind of just gliding into the next vowel, but it's one sound, okay? And so you have ow, like in shout and now, and then you have oi, as in boy and android. And so the oi can be spelled OY, and the oi can be spelled OI. For ow, it could be spelled OU. It could also be spelled OW. Okay? Diphthongs, they are considered to be one vowel because they make one syllable. Okay? They're one syllable, not two. and android, android, android. You can see that that is one vowel in a syllable. Okay, that's what that meant by that. Okay, so our diphthongs, they go right here. Oi and ow. Okay, so the next thing is accent. Accent, you need to be able to hear the accent in a word because accent has a lot to do with being to identify the schwa sound. The schwa sound is that upside down E that you've seen before. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you, just like I have certain problems saying certain words, fricative was one of them. I have a hard time saying that word. And then I have another, it's difficult for me to say, affricate and alveolar. There are certain words I have problems with. I'll just tell you, when it comes to accents, I have a very hard time sometimes hearing the accent in a word, to the point of when I went through dyslexia therapy, the trainer thought I may have dyslexia because it's just very hard for me to hear that. So, for example, so permit and then permit, the way you put that stress on the different syllables can change the total meaning of the word. You have the same word, you actually have the same spelling of the word, but the meaning of the word has just changed based on how you've put the accent on the syllable. So another one is the content that you study, or I feel content or content. So here we go again. So I am present, or I want you to present your work. So hopefully you can hear these. I am doing a project for homework. I will project your work. You are a suspect in a crime. I suspect he did it. So you see how accents can really make a difference, and kids really have to learn. You have to teach them that. So the schwa, we call that a lazy vowel. Why is it so important that you know about the accents? That is because it is right here. Schwas can be found only within an unaccented multi-syllable word. So a schwa can sound like a short I or a short U, depending on the word in which that it occurs. So syllable, that A sounds like a short I, and then right, that E sounds like a U. The O also makes a schwa sound like an So opinion and compare. So we also so you can look at it from the schwa sounding like a short I, short U, but it can also sound like a short O, like opinion. But typically we know that the short O, we hear when we think of schwa, we think of short O. We don't think of short, we don't think of it as a short I sound or a short U sound. But if you are thinking about it as a short O sound, short O, if I were to write the word opinion, that first O in opinion is a schwa. Opinion, opinion, yun, opinion. That's O, O-P-I-N-I-O-N, that O is a schwa. And then you have compare. So compare, that O sounds like a short U. So the O definitely, we tend to hear that, at least I do. I've always learned that O can sound like a short U. But I hope I said that correctly before. So I may have got that messed up. So a short O can sound like a short U. A short I, a schwa sound can also sound like a short I, but it could also sound like a short U, like an E could sound like a short U, or an O can sound like a short U. So I want to make sure I got that straightened out, in case I said that incorrectly, because now I'm thinking about it, I may have said that wrong. But a short I, it can sound like a short I, or it can sound like a short U. But it can, what I'm trying to say, it can sound like either one of these, but it can be any of these letters right here, is what I'm trying to say, which I'm not doing a very good job of. Okay. So here's the big thing. If you will just remember that it's an unaccented multisyllable word, that is going to help you a lot. Okay. Some people call the schwa an empty. It's empty because it doesn't, hold its sound all the time, because you have different vowels, the A, E, I, O, U. They typically hold their sounds, the short sounds and the long sounds. But the schwa, it can change, and so it's kind of empty. So here we go. We can look at these. Imagine, imagine. So one thing I did find out is that, everybody says these words a little bit different. So some of you may say it the way I'm saying it, and some of you might be saying it a different way. If you say it a different way, you may not be making that schwa sound. So for example, elect. I say elect. So E, I don't say the schwa sound there, but a lot of people say elect. And so they do say that sound there. But if you can see, this is what I was meaning before. So the I can have a schwa, the A can have a schwa sound, the E can have a schwa sound, the U can have a schwa sound, the O can have a schwa sound. So that's what I was meaning. You can, any of those vowels, A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, they can have the schwa sound of either being a short I or a short U. Nation, I could see that. I can hear that O sounding like a short U. About, I can hear that. Upon, but elect, I don't hear that E being a schwa. But that's me. So here are some words that would be good words that you can use to represent that schwa sound. And it goes right in here. So let's see. There is a lesson that I can give you if I have not put it on the Blackboard file. If I have not done that, then I can always give you the schwa lesson that I have. I have it for a derivative, how you would use schwa when you're teaching derivatives, but also I have like an introductory schwa lesson that you can have if you want. Okay, so real quick, you said adore. Okay, banana is like the best word ever to introduce the schwa, because you got two schwas right there. And typically the kids can hear that because they sound the same. Material, I don't think that's as easy as banana. Okay, I say political. Here's another one. Many people say political. So informative. And see this I right here? Oops. It's supposed to really sound like a long I, right? Because of that E. but it sounds like a short I. So system, I can see that, but I could also see someone saying system. I have a friend who says it that way. Syringe, there's your Y. Remember I said A-E-I-O-U and sometimes Y? They can all sound like the schwa, which is that short U sound or short I sound. There's your Y right there. So this is, if you will teach your kiddos that this occurs on the unstressed syllable, then it's easier to pick out. Okay. So this is just a vowels in the order that this would kind of look like if you were to say vowels in this order. And if you were to watch your mouth in a mirror, you would start seeing your smiling from beat to but, the to the U. So you would see your jaw start dropping as you said these words. Okay. So if we were to identify the vowel sounds in the following words, and if you were to write them next to your vowel chart that I gave you, where would you put them? So if you'll stop this for a second, and if you'll take these words and you'll write them next to the sounds on your vowel chart or your vowel valley, that would be very good practice for you. So this is the vowel valley that I want you to use to write those words next to. And you will see that you can find your answers right here. So either, there's Jim, and make, and breath, cat, right, palm. Just know that sometimes the sound of these vowels doesn't mean that they're always going to be spelled with an O. Palm, that A is representing that short O. Short U has the word cover. Aw, as in saw, or can mean pause, like an AU. Of course, O is boat, boat. Took or look is the vowel digraph O. And then we have zoo. You would, if you looked at mine, so sometimes you're going to see these vowel charts are going to look a little bit different. Like, so the one I use has OO right here, long OO, like in zoo, who. This one doesn't. Okay. Some of them have the YU, some of them don't. Okay. I think, yeah. So, I have it right here. And then you, for you, it would be cute. And then you can see there's your R's. Okay, so the other thing with this vowel valley is that there's no right or wrong answer for this. You should see the schwa right in here, but sometimes they put the bossy R's over here, they put the diphthongs over here. So there's not really a right or wrong answer to that. So we already talked about this a little bit. It's really important that you know what your mouth is doing on these sounds so you can help the kids that are making those sounds incorrectly and help them know what they need to be doing differently. I've had lots of kids look at my mouth when I've been working with them. They even put their hands on my mouth and my chin. And I'll put my hand on their mouth and chin. Of course, I always ask them if it's okay if I do that. They love putting their hands on my mouth, though. Okay, so remember I said that there are charts out there that have the YU right here. You got that. See, this one doesn't even have the U. It goes from Y to U. which is interesting. So, like I said, you're going to see some different ones, but in general, what you saw was what I gave you. This one, um, which is used, which is the lips program, uses long U to YU. So you and then you, which is interesting. You won't do that accent chart. Don't worry about the homework. And we're not going to worry about the rest of the slides. So there you go. There's your vowels for you.